I'm taking a big risk with today's video. I gotta wonder, is this the most hated genre on this channel? I don't know, you're gonna have to tell me. Whenever I release videos from this particular time or genre, I never know what's gonna happen. I mean, some episodes have blown up, done very well. I get really good feedback, and others have been, let's just say, torn to shreds. I might be taking a big risk, but I've got to confess, I love this genre, and I've been thinking about this top 5 for a long time. I'm going to give you my top 5 songs from this one, including one that was created in a cramped closet for an imaginary album, another that is the definition of schizophrenia, and one that the band refused to release as a single, but it got picked up by radio and became their most iconic track. 5 songs that I think came from the last great rock revolution of the rock era. They're coming your way, and I'd love to get your feedback next on Professor of Rock. Hey, music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you ever got sick eating those giant Hershey Kisses they do Valentine's Day, you're going to dig this channel of deep musical nostalgia. Make sure to subscribe below right now. Click the white button. I know you'll find something to love on this channel. We got a lot of great interviews. I just did an interview with a legend today. And also, check us out at professorofrock.com. We got a lot of great stuff happening there. And if you sign up, you'll know what's going on. So I think I've got a good episode today, and I'm going to ask you to open your mind a little bit. Today, we're going behind one of the most underappreciated genres of the rock era. Maybe the last great rock revolution, you have to let me know. It's a genre that I think gets a lot of unnecessary hate. Today, I'm going to count down the top 5 greatest songs from grunge. And if you think you don't like it, I swear, stick with me, and I think I'm going to change your mind. I know I will. These aren't your typical picks. In fact, my top 3 songs have become favorites of friends of mine who are not fans of this genre, but I talked them into giving these songs a chance, and now they swear by them. So take a chance. Now, grunge didn't just appear out of nowhere. I mean, it was the product of decades of musical evolution, blending punk's rebellious energy, hard rock's weighty riffs, and classic rock's emotional depth into really a genre designed for the outcasts. That's how I look at it. Characterized by distorted guitars, raw production, and quiet, loud dynamics, grunge's influences trace back to the songwriting of Neil Young, who's often called the godfather of grunge, the DIY ethos of punk bands like the Ramones and the Sex Pistols, and then classic rock giants like Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin. Give Zeppelin's 10 Years Gone a closer listen, and you'll see what I mean. I talked about this a few months ago.
Rivers always reach the sea.
Experimental 80s acts like the Pixies and Sonic Youth also shaped the genre's unpolished textures and dynamics. By the early 1980s, these influences began to coalesce in and around Seattle, a location that was musically isolated from most of the U.S., pioneering bands like the U-Men, Green River, and Malfunction. They laid the groundwork for the Seattle genre, blending punk energy with heavy, sludgy riffs. Melvin, Soundgarden, and Screaming Trees soon followed, and that further defined the scene. And then came the moment in the early 90s that everyone from my generation, Gen X, remembers. Nirvana, Nevermind, mostly Smells Like Teen Spirit. And that's where I'm going to start the countdown, but I'm not going to pick what you'd think I'd pick. At number 5 from the revolutionary album Nevermind, again, skipping over the obvious picks, I'm going to go with the song Lithium. Now, in 1989, Nirvana released their debut album Bleach on the independent label Sub Pop. The record captured the raw, unpolished energy of the band's early grunge sound and featured standout tracks like About a Girl and the shocking blue cover of Love Buzz. Although the album only went to number 89, it did offer a glimpse of Nirvana's potential, laying the groundwork for their meteoric rise. 2 years later, on September 24th, 1991, Nirvana released their sophomore LP, Nevermind. This time it was on a major label, Geffen Records. Now, it was projected to sell 250,000 copies, but it defied all expectations. It went on to sell 30 million albums worldwide. And of course, driven by Smells Like Teen Spirit, mostly. I mean, what else am I going to say that hasn't been said about this? Nevermind was a cultural phenomenon that sent shockwaves through the music industry. Its blend of punk-inspired energy, its polished production by Butch Vig, and Cobain's emotionally raw songwriting, it just captured the angst and imagination of Gen X. Nevermind dropped 4 singles. After Teen Spirit, there was also Come As You Are, In Bloom, and my pick Lithium, the 5th track on Nevermind.
Come as you are, as you were.
Now, Lithium tells the story of a guy who turns to God after thoughts of offing himself. When asked about the song, Kurt Cobain described it as partly autobiographical and partly fictional. He said, and I quote, "The story is about a guy who lost his girlfriend, and I can't decide what caused her to die. Let's say she died of AIDS or a car accident or something like that. And he's just going around brooding. And he turns to religion as a last resort to keep himself alive. Sometimes I think religion is okay for certain people. It's good to use religion as a last resort before you go insane." End of quote. That's what Cobain said. The title Lithium, that of course refers to a mood stabilizing medication used to treat bipolar disorder by reducing the severity and frequency of mood swings. And listening to Lithium, it evokes a bipolar sensation. Its structure mirrors emotional instability, and that's what Cobain was going for. Kurt Cobain is fascinated by the passive-aggressive music of the Pixies, and he employed the soft-to-hard dynamic here to perfection. This song fluctuates between subdued verses and then explosive choruses. That's what I love so much about it. This sonic juxtaposition, it creates a visceral listening experience, throwing you into the highs and the lows of the narrator's emotional journey. The lyrics shift between extremes as well, capturing the instability at the heart of this story. I mean, when he sings, "I'm so happy because today I found my friends, they're in my head," but then follows with, "I'm so ugly, but that's okay because so are you."
So ugly, that's okay, 'cause so are you.
I mean, the contrast of happiness and despair reflects the narrator's internal conflict, with Cobain's anguished cries of "yeah" in the chorus that drives it all home. And I love the "I'm so horny, that's okay, my will is good."
Hey, my will is good.
Lithium epitomized Cobain's gift for expressing complex emotions with deceptive simplicity. And unlike many of his songs, which were stitched together for miscellaneous poems and musical ideas, Lithium was written from start to finish as a cohesive narrative. It peaked at number 64 on the Billboard Hot 100, but went to number 16 on the rock charts, and internationally it went to the top 20 in at least 10 different countries. While it didn't reach the same level of commercial dominance as Smells Like Teen Spirit, its impact went far beyond chart rankings. I mean, for countless fans, Lithium became a deeply personal anthem, resonating with the alienated and disenfranchised altogether. I mean, it's Gen X's anthem, really, right? I can't wait to get to our top 3. We're almost there. All right, coming in at number 4, I've got a song from another one of the Seattle Big Four. It's a song that the band fought against even being released, even though it was the best song off their debut album. From Pearl Jam's debut album 10, talking about Black. Now, by the fall of '92, the world was nearly spinning out of control for the newly formed Pearl Jam. I mean, their debut album, it had climbed to number 2 on the Billboard 200. It had granted the band a steady stream of unexpected success. This emotive classic rock-inspired album 10, it blended soaring and at times anthemic melodies, powerful guitar work, and dark and despairing lyrics, all with an impassioned Eddie Vedder behind the mic. 3 singles had already stormed their way up the rock charts. There was Even Flow, Alive, and of course, Jeremy. With all the fame, there came mounting pressure and unwanted expectations, especially after the controversial and captivating music video for Jeremy, when that got put on MTV and censored. As Pearl Jam's fame grew, so did their unease about this predicament. Everybody wants fame until they get it, and then it's very cliche, right? But with Jeremy ruling the airwaves and MTV, Pearl Jam's label was wanting to go even bigger. They actually slated Black to be the next single. The track, a haunted, heart-wrenching ballad with more crossover potential than any of the previous singles, I think. I mean, Black was poised to become their biggest hit yet. It was a gold mine waiting to be tapped. Eddie Vedder and his bandmates didn't see it that way. For them, Black was too personal and pure to commercialize. So they pushed back and refused to release it as a single. Said Vedder, and I quote, "Some songs just aren't meant to be played between hit number 2 and hit number 3. You start doing those things and you'll crush it. That's not why we wrote songs." Black, it's a deeply emotional ballad that captures the anguish of lost love better than any song from its time. Vedder's soulful, evocative vocals and the song's gentle yet powerful instrumentation create really intimate and truly heart-aching listening experience. Eddie Vedder would say the song's about first relationships and the difficulty of letting them go. But as it turns out, Pearl Jam's refusal to drop Black as a single only added to the song's mystique. Despite not being officially released, Black still scored significant airplay. It became the quintessential anti-single. Black debuted on the US mainstream rock chart in December of '92, and it peaked at number 3 3 months later, even though it wasn't a single. A fan favorite for sure, and the way they performed it live, it brought a new emotional intensity to it. I mean, MTV Unplugged, that performance, incredible. The emotional weight of Black and its resonance with fans cemented its place as one of Pearl Jam's most iconic tracks. And although industry executives feared Pearl Jam's defiance would harm their career, the opposite proved to be true, right? 10 went on to sell 16 million copies around the world and stayed on the Billboard 200 for an astonishing 264 weeks. In fact, it sold more copies in America than Nevermind did. All right, top 3. I think you're going to like this. Coming in at number 3, I've got Chris Cornell's stripped-down solo masterpiece, Seasons. Although best known as the frontman of Soundgarden, Temple of the Dog, and later Audioslave, Chris Cornell would also put together an impressive solo career, spawned 5 albums, one posthumously assembled, and a number of other one-off projects like Seasons. But for my money, Seasons stands as the most compelling piece of Chris Cornell's career. That's a lofty statement, but I'll prove it. Going into 1992, Soundgarden had already been in existence for nearly a decade, and they'd released 3 studio albums and 3 EPs, and they began making waves with Bad Motorfinger, 91. Now, Seasons would be written in between the Soundgarden studio albums for the 1992 Cameron Crowe film Singles. Let's watch that a couple weeks ago. The song actually started out as a joke. So toward the end of the movie, after Matt Dillon's character Cliff from the band Citizen Dick is compelled to go solo, he starts trying to sell homemade cassette tapes. And Pearl Jam's Jeff Ament was doing some art design for the movie, and he designed a prop cassette for the character. And it had 5 fake song names on it. They were fake. It's Flutter Girl, Missing, Nowhere But You, Spoon Man, and Seasons.
Playing that record in France.
Chris found out about the tape and he decided to turn the 5 made-up song titles, the jokes, into real songs. You might recognize a couple of those from future Soundgarden and solo projects. How cool is that? So Chris went home and he wrote and recorded all of them in a matter of just a couple hours. Said Cornell, and I quote, "It was a really fun experience because I learned that writing songs just for the fun of it, for no particular destination, can create songs that have a life that lives on and on and on." In Seasons, he recorded that one alone in a small closet with an 8-track tape recorder and a microphone. That's where he did it. Cornell, who also appears in the movie, got the tape to Cameron Crowe, and he was blown away by it. He decided to include some of the songs in the actual film.
Another place to hide it all.
The single soundtrack, that was released in tandem with the film in September of '92, as grunge was peak. It became a cultural touchstone, capturing the essence of the Seattle music scene.
Directed by Cameron Crowe.
Alongside Seasons, the album features so many great tracks from Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains and Screaming Trees, as well as contributions from one of my favorite songwriters ever, Paul Westerberg, and also the Smashing Pumpkins are on there. It's an iconic soundtrack for sure. I got it on vinyl. If you haven't listened to it in a while, you got to check it out. But as good as the soundtrack is, Seasons elevates it even higher. Humorously, Cornell would say, songs I obsessed over for weeks nobody ever hears, but the ones I did for fun, for singles, wound up with millions of fans. Now, while Seasons was never released as a single, man, its impact has been so enduring. The thing about Seasons is that it revealed a side of Chris Cornell that was far removed from the aggressive, feedback-infused stylings of Soundgarden. Unembellished and rooted in acoustic guitar, Seasons captured a much more quieter, more introspective version of Cornell. It's incredible. You got to do yourself a favor and put this song in a great pair of headphones and just listen, just take it in. This song cuts like a knife. It cuts to the bone, man. It is a brutal song. Fans and critics alike view Seasons as a testament to Cornell's versatile artistry. Here he laments the passing of time and his inability to rise above the darkness. When he sings, "Well, I want to fly above the storm, but you can't grow feathers in the rain." And the naked floor is cold as hell. The naked floor reminds me that I'm lost behind. The words I'll never find. And I'm left behind as the seasons roll on by. You can't believe what you're hearing. It is just so personal and aching. And I can't even find the words to describe how much I adore this song. It's just so raw. You can tell that it was recorded in a closet. It's perfection. I don't know what else to say. And it's just going to get better. Coming in at number 2, I've got a singer who I actually consider to be the best of that time, the best of the genre, even though others got a lot more recognition. Lane Staley was just special. The greatest singer to come after the 80s, in my opinion. So at the bridesmaid position, I have Alice in Chains, their masterwork Nutshell, from their groundbreaking 1994 EP Jarflies. Chase Miss Pretty Lies. Formed in '87 in Seattle by Lane Staley and Jerry Cantrell with Mike Starr and Sean Kinney. Early on, the band developed a sound that drew from Black Sabbath and Zeppelin and Metallica and even LA Sunset Strip bands like GNR and Motley Crue. But by the release of their debut LP Facelift in 1990, Alice in Chains had begun blending these influences in with their own dark signature sound. Nobody sounds like Alice in Chains. Facelift's second single, Man in the Box, that of course became an MTV favorite, and the album went gold by the fall of '91, just as Nirvana's success began to put Seattle in the headlines. And then their massive 5 times platinum LP, Dirt, that came 7 months later. Dirt was once again heavy and wholly dark, but in many ways cathartic, as it addressed difficult themes from the Vietnam War to heroin addiction. Dirt rose to number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100, and that solidified Alice in Chains as one of the big four of grunge. The band's next project, an EP called Jar of Flies, was another unexpected twist. Now, for this one, Alice in Chains entered Seattle's London Bridge studio in September of '93 without any prepared material at all. I mean, their plan was just to jam and see where it went. Over the course of 10 days, working in marathon sessions of about 18 hours a day, the band crafted an EP that might just be the pinnacle of their incredible career. Maybe the best EP ever.
Face the path of time.
This 7-track acoustic collection is haunting, it's atmospheric, it's just achingly beautiful. Released on January 14, 1994, Jar of Flies went to #1 on the Billboard 200. It was the first EP ever to do that. I mean, Jar of Flies' lush instrumentation, including acoustic guitars, layered vocals, and strings, added depth and maturity to Alice in Chains' already incredible sound. Tracks like No Excuses and Don't Follow demonstrated their ability to craft softer melodic music while retaining their signature dark soundscape.
No excuses that I know. Say goodbye, don't follow.
A great balance here. I Stay Away, also an amazing track, somehow both breathtaking and terrifying. But standing at the head of them all is Nutshell. It's one of the most soul-piercing tracks ever. A brutal reflection of Lane Staley's struggles with addiction and isolation. The song's stark acoustic arrangement, it highlights its raw sincerity. Staley's aching vocal delivery, it holds nothing back. And paired with the song's poignant lyrics, I mean, they convey a feeling of quiet despair. Nutshell penetrates everyone to the core. I can never listen to this song without shedding a few tears. It's just heart-wrenching.
No one to cry to.
And despite never being released as a single, the song has become really the centerpiece of Alice in Chains' legacy, Lane Staley's legacy. One of the most memorable performances of Nutshell came from their MTV Unplugged show in April of '96. They opened the set with this track, and they delivered a deeply emotional rendition that marked their first performance together in years. Remember that. Lane Staley, visibly affected by his long battle with addiction, gave one of the most breathtaking vocal performances of his career. The concert sparked a brief resurgence for the band. They were on David Letterman and a handful of live shows, but it also marked the beginning of the end for really the most talented vocalist to come out of the last 30 years, Lane Staley.
I feel better there.
His struggles ultimately led to his final performance with Alice in Chains on July 3rd, 1996, after which his health deteriorated rapidly. In the years that followed, Staley continued to decline until April 2002 when he was discovered dead in his apartment. Taken from this earth by a mixture of heroin and cocaine. A truly sad day for one of the planet's greatest singers. And, I remember the day that I found out, the moment that I found out of his death. It just reminded me that this is a cursed genre. There's only one man really left standing from all of it, and it's Eddie Vedder. It took so many incredible singers, incredible interpreters of song. I'm talking about the singers. Obviously, there are still guitarists and other band members, but pretty brutal. And what a loss. Rest in peace, Lane Staley. All right, we've reached my #1 grunge track, and it was tough because Nutshell could have been #1, but this one's epic. In fact, it's 2 songs in one, easily grunge's equivalent to the Beatles' epic finale from the album Abbey Road. From the band Mother Love Bone is Chloe Dancer, Crown of Thorns. And Mother Love Bone may be the least known of the Seattle-based grunge bands on this countdown. Well, they definitely are. But their impact and their legacy cannot be overstated. They were established in '87. Mother Love Bone was comprised of Stone Gossard and Jeff Ament, as well as guitarist Bruce Fairweather, drummer Greg Gilmore, and behind the mic, the charismatic showman, one Andrew Wood. Andrew Wood, he might be the saddest story of the rock's fifth decade because he had the potential to be the greatest frontman of the genre, if not the time that he came from, had he lived. Meanwhile, all the band members of Mother Love Bone each had already paid their dues in other Seattle area grunge bands like Green River, Malfunction, and 10 Minute Warning. By November of 1988, Mother Love Bone had signed with Polygram and recorded a 4-track EP called Shrine. It would be released in March of '89 and included the awe-inspired masterpiece by number one pick, Chloe Dancer, Crown of Thorns. Now, the EP sold amazingly well, and Mother Love Bone, they set out on a 30-day tour to support it. There was just a problem, a big problem. Andrew Wood had long struggled with heroin addiction. Exposed to drugs at a very young age, he'd been fighting to get clean off and on throughout his life. However, while on tour, his addiction progressively worsened. Mother Love Bone returned to the studio in the fall of '89. They were going to record their first full-length album, Apple, which they did. And he just fought to get clean, Andrew Wood. And the band was making good progress on the record, and they were preparing to release it. And then, after 116 days of sobriety, Andrew Wood, he relapsed. On March 16, 1990, he was found unconscious after a heroin overdose. He was rushed to a hospital where he remained in a coma for 3 days before passing away on March 19th at the age of 24. Wood's death deeply affected the Seattle music scene. It contributed to the formation of Pearl Jam, like I said, and it influenced the darker, more introspective tone that characterized much of the grunge movement. Like I alluded to earlier, many believe that Andrew Wood was destined to become the chosen one of that time. And his influence, it still reverberates through all of that music, through the grunge explosion of the 90s. Director Cameron Crowe is a huge fan of Mother Love Bone, and he included Chloe Dancer, Crown of Thorns in 2 of his films, Say Anything and Singles. That's why Singles is such a great soundtrack album. Andrew Wood's death would spawn a host of tribute tracks all over. There was Temple of the Dog, Say Hello to Heaven, and Hunger Strike, Alice in Chains Wood, Candlebox is Far Behind.
I'm going hungry.
But really, Chloe Dancer, Crown of Thorns is the song that defines Andrew Wood. It was, in his words, the song that was most about him. It was kind of a synopsis of his last year of life on this earth. How do I say this? Chloe Dancer, Crown of Thorns, it showcases Andrew's magnetic gift, an unprecedented gift for blending poetic storytelling with theatrical rock. That's why I think he would have been the best.
Mother Love Bone is coming to take over the world.
Song unfolds as a 2-part journey beginning with a haunting piano-driven introduction that transitions into a powerful rock anthem. I mean, lyrically, it explores themes of love and loss and self-destruction. It was drawn from Wood's struggles and his relationship with his fiancée, Xana LaFuente. LaFuente's brief stint as a dancer to support the couple was the inspiration for the dancer in the title. Now, reflecting on the song, Xana described it as a relationship that was ruined by drugs. Posthumously, Chloe Dancer, Crown of Thorns has taken on a much deeper resonance, immortalizing Andrew Wood's just incomparable talent and the heartbreak of his death. I mean, what a loss. I mean, its emotional depth and striking composition make it one of the most iconic songs of its time, really before grunge blew up. It's a testament to what Mother Love Bone might have achieved had tragedy not intervened. This is not only my favorite track of the genre, It's one of my 10 favorite songs, period. I really would love to go more in depth on this one. I think it deserves its own episode. Would you like to see that? Let me know below if you would. So there you have it, my top 5. Hope you're not too depressed. Thanks so much for watching. Leave us a comment about these 5 grunge tracks. What are your memories of these songs? What's your top 5? What do you think of the genre? What do you think of the time? I truly think it's actually underappreciated. I think it's overdone because it Smells Like Teen Spirit and really Pearl Jam 10 and Nevermind, Nirvana. But Alice in Chains and Mother Love Bone and Chris Cornell and Soundgarden, I think there's so much depth to this genre and so many songs that we take for granted that we need to pull out and really put under a microscope or put inside our ears. Anyway, let me know below. What else would you like to see? Would you just like to see more of this? If you like our content, we invite you to subscribe below. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.